they always see the end result, right, and not necessarily always the amount of work that goes into everything, right? And it's easy to look for at what you put out, look at what you do, see. I mean, you have a beautiful home, right? It's a beautiful view. You're doing very well. You're in all these luxury places, doing all these things to say, hey man, how does this? What's the secret, right? But it's something
I'll
so
tell you what the
simple.
secret is. The secret is, what am I now? 61. I started work when I was 12, working as a casual. So what is that? For 50, 49 years, I've focused on building something. And every day I need to put another brick in that building. So when people say, oh, yeah, you're just all privileged and whatever, I say, yeah, it's amazing what 49 years of working almost every day of the week does for your privilege.
Yeah. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Deep MCs, the podcast that seeks to push meaningful conversation to a whole new level. Whether it's for your entertainment or your personal growth, we appreciate you being here today. And now, on to the show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Deep MCs, where today we have another very special guest. Some would call him the king of customer service. Some would call him the Lord of the Lens. We all call him Kym Illman. Kym, how you doing, brother?
I've never been called the Lord of the Lens. So good
Oh,
morning, Shepard.
you are the Lord of the Lens for sure, my man. Let me tell you. Uh, this has been I've been going back and forth with Jace, your son.
Mm-hmm.
Um, awesome guy, super nice. Never met him, but he seems like a great guy. And just tell him how excited I am to be able to sit with you and talk to you and have a conversation. You are more than inspiration to a lot of us. You're also an icon. Do you see yourself as an icon? Is that weird to say?
No, I see myself as anything but an icon.
Oh, please come on now. For those that don't know, Kym here is arguably, not even arguably, hands down one of the most recognizable faces. I would say even more so than some of the drivers in Formula One. You've been there now over what, a hundred now races, right?
Yep. 5 years,
You
5 full seasons.
you've seen people come and go. You've seen drivers come and go, and you've stayed steady. And if I was to say, hey, can anybody identify or name any of the other photographers in Formula One, I guarantee you they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it.
Well, I'm happy if they remember mine, I'm happy for that, Shepard.
No. But yeah, I really wanted to kind of just sit down and talk with you because uh I have conversations about Formula One, surrounding Formula One. Formula One's getting ready to actually kick back up here pretty soon. And I know you're getting ready to leave the country. So again, thank you for making the time to kind of sit with me and talk. But that being said, and I do apologize, we had the heat on in the studio here, so it's a little hot. I'm starting to sweat a bit. So just ignore that. But that being said, uh, coming into your content, I've been watching you now. You have a YouTube channel that I watched for a while. I've followed your photography for some time. But there's also like, the more I dug into who you are, the more I realized like you are, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dos Equis man in Australia, right? But most interesting man in America, what they say, Dos Equis, right? You are one of the most interesting men I've seen. And I said, this guy here, he has so much going on, not just on this physical front, but behind the scenes. Like, I have to talk to him. I have to see what he's all about. And most people like to know you from the F1, but all this stuff, like, how did you, I mean, I know, but how did you get to that point coming from, your, I want to say humble beginnings, but you became a self-made man, you built a business, and now you're shooting photography. You're living the dream basically, man. How did that come about?
The F1 dream, yeah, it is a dream because I had no intentions of ever doing anything like this going back 6 years ago, or 6.5 years ago. But then I went to Abu Dhabi for the final race of 2016, and I paid the money with Red Bull. And I met some great people in the corporate suite. And one of the activities was that you go down into the garage, and you stand out the front of the garage before sessions, and all these people file past and they go, oh, we want to be in there. And I thought, well, I'm in here. So this is great. And then at one stage we went down and we were standing in the back of the garage with the headphones on, listening to Daniel talk to his race engineer. It was very calm and it was quite a lovely experience. And at that moment I thought, oh, I'd like to photograph this sport. Now, I should say I've never, ever taken a photograph of a car on track of any serious note. So previously, because I've got a business called Messages on Hold, which has been running, excuse me, since 88, and it does very nicely and it runs nicely without me now. So I'd gone on something like 12 or 13 safaris in Africa over 2.5 years with my wife, and we produced a book which National Geographic picked up in Germany. And it was a very good book, but I decided I didn't want to do any more National Geographic photography books, and let's have a crack at F1. So I contacted the media accreditation people and I outlined what I thought I could do for the sport. And I was surprised when they said, yes, you can come and be accredited for testing, pre-season testing in Barcelona. So I did that. I loved it. And I said, right, can I be accredited for Melbourne? They said, yeah, okay, we'll accredit you for Melbourne. And then every race you apply for, and every race I got a gig shooting with Sutton Images, 3 races in, which is unheard of, because I was in the right spot at the right time. And since then, I've done all but 4 races in 5 years.
That's just, it's incredible, man. And, you say something about being in the right place at the right time, but I feel like it's a little more than that. And what's always strikes me is it's very interesting with you and seeing your content, even being able to speak with you now. Like you are beyond humble, man. Like you're beyond humble in everything that you do, and it's I don't know, it almost draws people in. Like there's this very you don't take yourself too seriously, it almost seems like, but yet you have so many accomplishments, man. And you talk about Messages on Hold, and I hope we can dive into that a little bit. But that being said, like I was saying before, man, just seeing you operate and seeing how you handle yourself and seeing the content you put out, like, does it ever strike you as I don't know, I guess you can't, you're yourself, so you don't really feel like, you're just kind of doing what you want to do, but does it really strike you how many people you impact, with the content that you put out and the quality that you put out?
Every now and then I'll go and have a look at stats from YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and I'll see number of people reached on that post, 1.2 million. I go, imagine that. 10 football stadiums, 10 MCGs full of people, and they've all seen something that I've done or produced. And every now and then, I do sit down and think, well, that's quite amazing. But look, when I'm at the track, I'll be taking photos, and that photo that you showed me of me on your phone, I wouldn't have had no idea who was around. I would have been focused on a driver or a team principal or something. And you don't even have any idea behind you there might be a TV crew locking up on a shot, and they might be putting that out to 50 million people on the broadcast. You're oblivious to that. So yeah, it's an interesting thing that we tend to be so engrossed in what we do that we forget to really, I guess, appreciate sometimes where we are. Or sometimes that's not true. Sometimes I'll stop in the paddock or at a corner, and I'll just, for 3 minutes, I'll just watch without taking a photo, because I think, right, well, that's my reward. I get to enjoy this. And it's also a good thing for photography, because you go, oh, hang on, all the cars are on this line. I've been shooting over there because I've been focused on that thing. So then there is a benefit. But yeah, I am amazed really at how far I've become, because I never thought I would get this far. Never thought I could build an audience like this. And a lot of people say, oh, you're a great photographer. Well, some people say that. And I look at the stuff that I throw out and I think, not a great photographer, perhaps a lucky one, or maybe if you take enough photos, you get a good one. And when you do get a good one, you celebrate it.
Right. No, you say you're not a great photographer, and you say you're surprised that you have gotten this far. But should you really be surprised? I mean, you've built a successful business. You're raising a great family. You seem to be doing pretty well. You seem to be successful in everything that you do. Why would you say that you'd be surprised in this?
because I know what my photography is like sometimes, and I admonish myself. I'll be standing in a certain part of the track, and I'll be taking photos 5 or 6 minutes, and I'll look at them and I go, what you've wasted your time. Every photo is ordinary. Now, maybe if it was my first race, I'd be thinking, oh, wow, that's great because that's sharp and you can see everything on the car. But once you've been doing it a while, you start raising the bar and you're never happy really with what you get. You always think, oh, if I'd been 10 meters that way, or if I'd use a different shutter speed. So you are very critical of your own work. And look, I've been very lucky too, because there's a couple of long time and very talented F1 photographers who have been more than helpful and supportive of what I do. And they will come past and see on my screen, they go, oh, just crop that out, or you're too far there, you needed to do that. And certainly at a time when you don't know as much as them, you're absolutely indebted to them for their 2 or 3 seconds that they give you some advice. And I'm more than happy if I see people know, if I walk past something and I think, oh, I could make that better, and there's not perhaps a lot of times that I might be able to make it better, but I'm more than happy to pass that on, because if someone gives you that information, I think it's up to you to pass it on to somebody else.
No, for sure, for sure. Now you're saying like having those other Formula One photographers that are there, and maybe you can't answer this, maybe you can, I'm not sure, but what do you think is the difference? What is the difference that makes you stand out from the rest, or what has separated you from the rest, or has made your name as big as it is? Because I mean, to me, anyone I talk to about Formula One knows Kym. They do.
I'm a marketer. I'm a very good marketer. I'm a better marketer than a photographer. You don't have to have the best photo, but if you've got it up quick and it's topical. So I tend to, if you look at my Instagram feed, which is where I do most of my work, I rarely put up a car photo. Maybe 1 in 12 is a car photo. All people, because people, they don't love the cars. They're interested, but they don't love them. But they want to see Charles hugging his girlfriend. They want to see Max in tears because he missed out on something. They want to see Lando high-fiving his trainer. They want to see the emotion, and there's plenty of it in the paddock.
Right.
But to capture that emotion, a couple of things. For instance, you look at most of my photos of Nico Hulkenberg, and when he's in the paddock, there's some sort of animation, there's some sort of connection. Same with Lando and Pierre. A lot of the drivers, because I know them, look at my lens. Now, if you're a race-by-race photographer, or let's say you're shooting for someone in Austin and you go to one race a year, no photographer, no driver is ever going to look at you, smile and give the thumbs up, wave, do this sort of thing. They're not going to do it. They don't know you. They don't know where that photo will appear. But, sometimes I'll get a great photo of a driver, and 3 hours later I'll get a message from him saying, was that good enough? Was that good enough for a post? And I'll go, yeah, I just wasn't sure that you wanted me to put it up because it's a bit, no, put it up, that'll be fine. That's why I think some of my stuff is really good, because I get to connect with the driver, and as such, they feel comfortable. Then I sometimes get to work with them, and they put me on the payroll. But even if they don't, look, probably half of the field, I think, would around half the field would smile or acknowledge me sometime. Not all the time, but sometimes.
No, for sure. I would say that in comparison to others that I've seen you, to me, produce some of the highest quality F1 images, and you do capture quite a bit of emotion, especially when it comes to the people portion of it. I mean, it's art. It truly is. And you may say, oh, it's not that great, but it's impactful, man. I mean, a picture can capture a lot of emotion, can convey a lot of things, and the way that you put it into perspective, I mean, it's a great thing to see. It truly is. I would say I am an amateur photographer, and I can't pull off half of the things that I've seen you produce, so whether you call it lucky or not, I would say you're up there in my book, man, for sure.
Well, I've taken probably averaged about 15,000 images a race for 100 races. So what's that, 1.5 million photos? You have to improve. If anyone takes 1.5 million photos, the last ones should be better than the first ones.
No, for sure, for sure. Now, you did say something. Now, you said that you are a good marketer.
Mm,
Can we talk about messages on hold for a little bit? I think that's something that a lot of
I
people
insist.
don't really know too much about. And 88, right? 1988, you said you
Hmm.
started this. Tell me a little bit about that. How'd that even come about?
I was on hold at American Express paying a bill, and I was listening to some advertising for them while I was waiting on hold. And I thought, hey, I've worked on radio. I can voice, I can record, I can write, I can sell the stuff, I can invoice it, and I can collect the money. So I started out, printed a brochure, I think, and I went and saw a few companies and said, hey, you should be having this on your hold system. And I got one client and two clients and three clients and ended up with nearly 100 staff and clients all over, well, all over the world, but primarily in Australia and Southeast Asia. Um, and it was just this marvelous business. And I took a lot of information from US based companies because your market at the time was much more advanced. And I came over, I remember, to Tulsa, met with a couple of people there. I met some people in Florida. And I thought, right, you guys are really doing well. So I took some of those ideas back to Australia, and my business just grew. I doubled in turnover every year, first 5 years, I think, 4 or 5 years, and we won awards, and our clients loved the thing, and we did a great job, and it just spun off a lot of cash as the business matured.
That's incredible, man. So here's my question for you, and I've kind of touched on it before, and I'm going to touch on it again. How I guess that's the difference between America and other countries. The amount of success that you have, man. How can you just be so? How can you be so humble and just shrug it off like, we did all right. I'm doing all
I've done
right.
it. I've done that's something I've done. That's gone. That's in my past. My sole focus at the moment is F1 content on YouTube. It consumes an inordinate amount of time, and I don't stop working. And somebody said, "Oh, you've done really amazingly well, 226,000 followers." And I'm thinking, for the amount of work I do, I should have triple that. But anyway, you can't complain. You can just keep pushing, and there'll be a few things that'll happen this year that'll dramatically increase the level of content that I put out.
Oh,
And have I lost you? I thought
uh-oh.
I'd lost you, but I've just lost your picture. But you've got my sound and picture.
Oh, well, I hope we didn't lose the picture here. Let me try to get that back. The picture's part of the, that's what they're about. You're a photographer. You need the picture.
Yep. Well, I can't see you, but if you can see me, that's fine. I got you back now.
There we go. I don't know if that came back there. Now,
Yep.
so you said you have more F1 content on the way, more things in the books. And how is that on the family, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, you're on the road pretty much all year. I would assume if you're going race to race. I mean, have they adjusted to life without Kym? Is that just kind of just odd when you're back?
Yeah. Look, my wife is very tolerant of me, and she certainly pushes hard. She wants this to be a success, and for her part at this end, it's invaluable. She'll do a lot of. I'll give you an example. If I roll up at an airport 3 days early for a flight, and because I've mucked up the booking, I'm straight on to her, and no matter what time of the day or night, she's sorting out that problem. One of my sons, my youngest son, Jace, who you spoke to, he's coming to 7 races this year. He's a reasonable photographer, getting better, but he has a passion for social media, and he's learning. But if I continue to put the energy into him, he will continue to do better and better. And my oldest son, Tyler, actually pushed me to get involved in YouTube, and I was so against it. I was against Instagram for a year and a half, and then I relented, and look where that's gone. But he's pushed me hard, and eventually I got onto it, and I did a video, and I showed it to him, and he said, "You can't put that up." And I said, "Why not?" "Oh, that's shocking." "Oh, but I've spent 6 hours on it." "No, you can't do it." So I had to start all over again and do something that was marginally better. But anyway, they're a lot better now because I do about 70% of the editing, and then I flick it back to my guys in Perth, and they will make it look pretty. So I'll cut the timeline, and I'll work out what I want to say and give them roughly the pictures and the ammunition that they need to make that video, and then they go and do the back end.
Gotcha. So what is that like, having your whole life out there like that? I mean, you seem to be when it comes to content, especially the YouTube content, you pretty much share it all. This is pretty much, this is what I do. This is where I stay. This
Yeah.
is where I live. This is, I
Yeah.
mean, do you find that odd, or you think that's just all part of the business now?
Sometimes I don't have any content. It's a great fallback. But look, I love watching airline reviews. I watch everyone, Sam Chewy, Tech Trem, whatever his name is. I watch them all and I think, right, I've got to try that airline because I'm lucky enough. Most of the time, I tend to go business or first. Not often that first, but occasionally. And I'm thrilled if this year I'm going Swiss first class. I've been watching every video about Swiss first class because I want to know what it's like before I get on the plane, and it'll be great. And then I'll do probably half an hour of recording before we're taking off and as we take off. Then I'll do probably another 20 minutes in flight. And people say, oh, he's living the life of luxury. I'm working my ass off. I'd like to just sit there and enjoy it, but no, I got to set cameras up and I got to run interference on hostesses getting cranky with me for doing it. So yeah, look, it's a lot of work, but I'm more than happy to share it. And I know people like to see the hotels. And I've got a new video coming out tomorrow night, and it's going to be called Formula One's Best Hotels. And I'm going to look at my eight best hotels that I stayed at this year. And I think anyone considering going to a Grand Prix is going to want to know, oh, I'm going to Barcelona. Where should I stay? Oh, here's a nice one he stayed at. And it's not a review of 100 places in Barcelona. It's where I stayed and why I liked it.
Right. No, I think that is what is so unique about the content that you make, because like you said, it's not, oh, hey, I'm in Barcelona and I'm going to review all these places. Like you make it more personal, and for the people that are following your content or wanting to know a little bit more about you, you're giving them that. You're giving them your reasons, your thought behind it, and why it matters to you, and not so much the overall grand scheme of here it is. And I think that sets you apart in a lot of ways, in comparison to a lot of the others that are out there. So, I mean, good on you for that, for sure.
What makes me laugh sometimes is people say, well, why do you go and put up a video of you going on a plane? And I look at the number of views and it's 250,000. And I think, that's why I do it. Because people love it. Trust me, if nobody watched it, I'm going to stop doing it. And if I found a way that more people would watch that didn't perhaps compromise my integrity or whatever too much, I would look at doing that. And the other thing that makes me laugh too is, why are you so, what do you have to talk about the women in Formula One? They get, mostly guys, hate it when you talk about women in Formula One, whether they be girlfriends or whether they people who work in the teams or even just guests. But look at my top 5 videos. All of them around 1 million followers, million views, all about women. There's wives and girlfriends, 3 editions, Britta Ruska, who's Seb's PA, and Angela Cullen. And unfortunately, a lot of guys don't like men talking about women in sport. They just hate it. Yeah, and it just absolutely makes me laugh.
I don't know why. I mean, I remember when you dropped those videos and they did very well. They took off, when you first put them out there. Is actually kind of, I have to apologize, kind of surreal seeing the music room in the background, because you do film here a little. Mm-hmm. So it's like I feel like I'm watching a video, but this is real life, so
yeah, well, that's it back there.
This is the infamous music room, man. How many instruments do you play?
I play that one, the piano.
Yes.
Reasonably. I should be a lot better for the amount of money my parents spent on lessons as a kid. And I can keep a basic drum beat, but that's about it. My sons play the guitar, they play the marimba, and both of them did drumming at school.
Okay. So are we going to get a music CD here?
No, you're not. I can start a lot of songs, but I don't think I can finish one.
Hey, as long as you can start, that's a lot better than myself. I stopped the piano many years ago. Now, we can dive back into Formula One here for a second. As you're getting ready to take off, have you seen, and I know you have, the difference and the change that Netflix has brought to the races, and how do you feel that that has affected what you do now?
I've seen a huge difference in the paddock. Going back to first year 2017, there were a lot of people in the paddock, but not everyone was after a selfie. And now it's everybody wants a selfie, and they're sprinting and they're grabbing drivers, and courtesy has gone out of the window, and manners completely gone with a lot of people, and it's embarrassing to watch sometimes. I remember vividly, must have been in Austin, not far from you, and Daniel was talking to three friends in the paddock, and this girl just came up and grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him back. First of all, she started shouting from 4 meters away, and he looked at her and then continued his conversation. Then she grabbed his shoulder and he just looked at her, rightfully so, and said, "I'm busy at the moment," and turned back. But that's what people are like. They think that these drivers are there for them. It's just really annoying to watch. And I love Lewis when he slaps away people's hands when they put him on his shoulder, as he rightly should. And they all should do that. Some of them are very polite and just endure it. But for those people who are like that, that's a real embarrassment. How's it affected my job? It's become harder to get a clean shot of a driver, particularly on Saturday and Sunday. Not so much on Thursday, because not that many public are into the paddock on Thursday. But yeah, that's a selfish reason. But look, it's grown the sport no end, and I can't at all be critical because I sell photo books of races and drivers. 62% go to your country, and your country has grown huge in terms of the following in the sport. And about 50% of my signed driver prints also make it into America. And somebody said, "Well, would you have done this 10 years ago?" I said, "No, because at the moment, 8% of my sales go into Europe, maybe 10% go into Britain. It would not be viable to do books. It wouldn't be viable to do signed prints with drivers. But now it is."
Yeah.
So thank you, America.
Hey, we are here for it. You know, I've been a Formula One fan for the longest time, and I've been to almost every race here in the States that we've had, and it has changed so much. Man, I remember, COTA in the early days where they didn't have all the bleachers. You can kind of sit wherever you wanted to. Yeah, standing room only, and we're sold out. So it's affected the viewership for sure. And like I said, the manners have gone down quite a bit, like you said earlier. And it's unfortunate, but I guess that's part of the growth as well. You're going to get a little bit of the unruly in there that just want that Instagram picture, if you will, And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. But speaking of Daniel, you talked about Daniel. How do you feel about Daniel going into, or missing this year and going back to Red Bull? Or are you not able to speak on that?
Oh, I was disappointed that he couldn't pip Lando. I would have loved to have seen, well, if he couldn't beat him, certainly be around the mark. But as everybody knows, the performance gap was huge. And obviously, as a team, they can't have that go on ad infinitum. At some point, they have to make a decision. Yes, he's back as a reserve driver, and I keep thinking, is he likely to get back into Red Bull after Perez perhaps leaves at the end of this year? I don't know. I think Lando might end up in that seat. Who knows? But yeah, disappointing for him, and he's a great Australian. He was great for the sport. We will see him, I understand, 7 or 8 times at the track this year, but he'll be doing lots of other simulator work for Red Bull and even sponsor stuff as well. And tell you what, nobody's better than Daniel at PR or schmoozing wealthy people. He's just a beautiful man to be around. He and Pato O'Ward are quite amazing. You know Pato from IndyCar?
Yes.
Oh, that kid is an absolute winner. In terms of his interactions with the public and his value for PR for a company, I love the kid. I've got big raps on him, and I've interviewed him twice now and get along very well. I've never seen anyone embrace the public like him. It's just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, no, Pato is a great kid, and Daniel too. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to wear this year. You know, I have every Ricardo jersey from every iteration, so I'm gonna have to switch it up this year. And I don't know I haven't landed on anything yet, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But yeah, speaking of your books, and I have to admit, I did not get 2022 yet, but I will. I will. Um, I mean, was that just always something that do you just view that as a good business opportunity? Do you just enjoy putting the books together? I mean, how do the books come about for you?
I'll tell you how it came about. I was advertised to on Instagram often with this one ad: custom made books, custom made books. And one day they said, free custom made book, we'll do one for you for free. Oh, how could this go wrong? So I got some of my best picks and I sent it off. I think I had to pay the postage, 14 Australian dollars, 10 US. Anyway, a week later, I expected some flimsy little book to arrive. And then I open up the package and it's a stunning piece of publishing. The pages aren't paper, they are card about 1.5 millimeters in thickness. And they're small coffee table books, you know, they are that size, 8 inches
Right.
square. But in terms of a piece of publication, they're stunning. And what it gave me the opportunity to do was, and let's say I did a book for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I'd go and pick the cover picture on Sunday night and I'd have my graphics guys go and put up the ad. Now, if no one buys that book, I don't spend 1 second producing it. I have not lost any money if no one buys the book. If one person buys the book, that's my worst outcome because then I have to produce the book, which will take me an hour and a bit, and send it off to the printer and order it. But once that one's been sold, pretty much everything thereafter comes as a profit. Obviously, there's a cost of the book, and they're not cheap. They're 150 Aussie dollars, which is about, I think, 90 US, 90 and a bit. But they are one-offs. And the beauty of doing this way is with Seb, let's say I do the Sebastian book and he suddenly wins a race. Well, I go and take out page 3 and put in the new page 3 as the one he's won. So anyone who buys the book that day gets a slightly different book than the person who bought one last week. So it's often a case where these are almost one of a kind sometimes. But my best of 2022 book is an absolute killer. As soon as we put that up, and 21, I've only done them for 2 years, but the end of year book is a great business venture. And people love them and they collect them. And I love that when they bring them to the track. It's really amazing because some people say, oh, can I get an autograph? Yeah, what do you got? Oh, my book. And suddenly their elevation in my standings goes right up.
No, for sure, man, for sure. I mean, I have to get mine. I will get mine. That's a promise because they are just great. It's a great way to have a collection of a lot of your work, for sure. I've given them as gifts or sent them as gifts. I should selfishly keep more for myself. I don't know.
Thank you for that.
But yeah, no, I will definitely get mine in. That being said, though, now you're getting ready to head off to preseason's getting ready to start. All the reveals are getting ready to start. I would like to see. I mean, I would like to say, good luck. Hope to see you out there. Hope you a lot of good shots. The safety's changing. The rules are changing. The cars are changing. You had some great crash photos last year.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate when that happens. You know, I mean, how do you feel like as a photographer, as you are like staying focused, capturing those shots? But I've never been in that situation. How does that work? Like, you want to look, you don't want to look, you want to take the picture, you want to make sure it's
No,
good.
you
Like,
want to look. Everybody wants to look. People go to motor racing because they want to see a crash. Let there be no doubt that people are interested in crashes because they're spectacular. They're not just
right,
boring processions. They don't want anyone to get hurt. But thankfully, the safety is good enough on these cars, as Joe's incident attests, that he can go upside down for a couple hundred meters along the tarmac and then through gravel and then end up jammed between the fence and he walks out. Well, he didn't walk out, he was carried out, but he was pretty much unharmed. On that particular day, Alex Albon was in a worse condition with an accident that was nothing like Joe's
right.
and pretty much ignored. So, Alex came out second best. But when you're in that situation, you don't even think. You just keep shuddering. And I've not been in a situation where a car has come terribly close to me where I've sort of had to duck. Oh, yes, I have once. It was in Japan, and it was around the back of the track. And I just changed the lens, and I came up, and there's a car. It was Bottas, I think. I'll stand corrected, but he was weaving all over the place, coming towards me. And I went to put my camera up. I thought, no way. And I went down and hit the ground. That's the only time I think I've ever stopped. A friend of mine, photographer, told me a story. He was photographing motorcycles, and one came off the track and came over his head and flipped his cap off. So how lucky was he?
Oh yeah.
I think the closest I've been to an incident was Lance Stroll in Budapest at the exit of the chicane, and he did a 180 in front of me. And it was almost slow motion. I kept shooting, and I was shooting at a very slow shutter speed, so it's only a couple of photos that were sharp. And at that time, I felt I didn't think I was in any danger. He didn't get terribly close to the fence. When I say terribly close, he was 3 meters, but that was his front nose, and he wasn't ploughing towards me. He was going left to right. I don't know how I'd go if I was in a situation where a car was coming at me at speed, and I was shooting in Monaco, and we tend to get very close to the rail in Monaco, and I lay on the ground and shoot through the rail, and the cars are coming directly at me, and then they turn left. And some guy came up and said, you should move back a little bit, because earlier today, a guy was doing something similar to you right next to the rail, and a car hit the rail about 50 meters away from him, and it threw him a meter back, and he had to go and get some medical treatment. So yeah, look, we take a risk, but of course, until something happens, you think it won't happen.
Right, right. Well, we can add stuntman to your resume now, right?
Yeah, I follow all the rules. Like if there's a red zone, I don't shoot in a red zone. I'm not that stupid.
No, for sure, for sure. Now, with the photography, like I said, you've gone so far and you're doing all these other things. What was the catalyst that got you into taking these photos? Was it just I'm done, I have a successful business, I need something to do now, I'm going to start doing photography? Or how did it come about? Like, what was the real thing that made the switch go on?
Well, what you said is pretty much it. Yeah, I was looking for something to entertain myself, and I thought maybe I could get a couple of years out of this. This would be fantastic. But now it's at a point where I just want to see how far I can take it. And this year, as I mentioned before, I hope to completely ramp up what I'm doing. And I've got I've interviewed 2 people yesterday. Maybe I'll get those people on board, and that will allow me to produce more stuff, to be quicker, because it's all about speed in this game.
For sure.
We've recognized some stuff that we need to do better. And at the moment it's good, but it can be amazing.
Well, I'm excited for it, for sure. Let me ask you this, because I mean, like you said, you were looking for something to do, which means that you're already successful in what you did. What is the key to being a successful businessman? What would you say was the catalyst for you, or what was it for you that drove you to achieve the level of success that you did?
I've been very lucky that I've had good people around me that have allowed me to focus 100% on whatever it is I'm doing at the time. So in the early days of my business, I would do messages on hold 7 days a week. Like my wife was my first staff member, so she shared the same passion for the business. And at the moment, my wife looks after all this stuff here. My kids do a lot of the stuff around this house. So yeah, I can focus more hours on my business because I have other people who are also invested in this journey with me. If it's just me on my own, I'm having to stop every 5 minutes to go and fix some plumbing and then come back and do a bit more. Now I've got a drama over there I've got to go and fix. It's going to be very difficult. If I've got young kids where I have to spend inordinate amount of time looking after them because I've got no structure around me to help out, that would be very difficult.
No, I mean that makes sense, and it's interesting to also hear, right? I think a lot of times, people they always see the end result, right, and not necessarily always the amount of work that goes into everything, right? And it's easy to look at what you put out, look at what you do, see. I mean, you have a beautiful home. Right. It's a beautiful view. You're doing very well. You're in all these luxury places, all these things to say, hey man, how does this, what's the secret? Right. But it's something.
I'll tell you what the secret is. The secret is, what am I now? 61. I started work when I was 12. working as a casual. So what is that for 49 years, I've focused on building something. And every day I need to put another brick in that building. So when people say, oh, yeah, you're just all privileged and whatever, say, yeah, it's amazing what 49 years of working almost every day of the week does for your privilege.
Yeah, yeah. And I that lends to why you're such a humble person, man, and why I definitely want us to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you, because you are a person that's genuinely worked their ass off, throughout the course of everything, and have built yourself to this level where you're able to do the things that you want to do, or that you find passion in, or that you enjoy. And I think that's the key to life right there, man. I mean, do you ever have a bad day? I mean,
lots. I have lots of bad days, particularly at the track. And I think at the end of the day, I think, what am I wasting my time for here? Everything went wrong. But while you were speaking there, it reminded me of something I saw the other day, because I put up, I think, an Instagram post saying I need somebody to help out with social media and editing. And the requests from people were hilarious. One of them was, yeah, because I said, you have to be based in Perth. Perth is in Western Australia. You have to live in Perth. If you don't live in Western Australia, you're no good. You have to be in Perth. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm from Colombia. I'm willing to travel. Now, would I be able to get into the paddock? They're opening entree, which is just, you play your card straight up. I'm not really interested. Just want to know if I can get into the paddock. Yeah. So subsequently, we don't be wasting any time on responding to idiots like that. And there are a lot of idiots out there who think, oh, I just want to do what you do. Well, if you did what I've done, you'd be doing what I do, but you haven't done what I've done. Nobody at the age of 21 wants to hear, okay, yeah, you've got to do 38 years of all this. 38 years. No, I want to do it next week if I can. No. 38 years you got to put in before you get to this. Look, not everybody.
First race is happening pretty soon. We got to get this thing started, Yeah, no, for sure. That's correct. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, people want everything now. They want it, but they do have to put in the work, and that seems to be the trend, especially as I'm going through all the people that I've interviewed, the success that they have, there's always that precursor of, oh, I've been doing YouTube for 10 years before it took off, 15 years before it took off.
That's exactly right. That's what I keep saying to myself. Maybe this will be the year. Is this going to be the year? And I listened to Mr. Beast the other day, and he said he had 5 years of just toddling along. But look, if I was 21 and I was doing this and look good on camera, maybe I'd bump up a lot quicker. But hey, you just play the cards you're dealt.
Well, I would say you're doing very well for yourself, for sure. I mean, looking at it from the outside, let's put it that way, you're doing very well, and I can tell you as a fan, your fans definitely appreciate the amount of effort that you are putting in for us for 8 minutes, just to take a little bit of the pain out of our day. See what's going on in Kym's world, man, and being able to have a little bit of look behind the scenes at that. I mean, it means the world, and I'm pretty sure that everybody that's a fan of you that even listens to this, they're going to see that you genuinely are the person that you are in the videos is the person that you are in real life. You're an outstanding guy.
I quite love it when people do lovely things, and some of them do some great things. I remember a lovely pair of girls in Singapore last year texted me and said, "Oh, we've got something for you out the front of the swipe gates." And normally I wouldn't go out there during the day. It's just too busy. But if they've done something, I'll pop out there. And they gave me these lovely rugs and a little kit. And I thought that was great. And then other people know that I like, say, Vegemite, and I've got none because I mentioned it in a video. And suddenly at my hotel, there's a jar of Vegemite at reception for me, or a bottle of Southern Comfort. And I think that's really lovely that they've gone and taken that time to do that. So I'm appreciative of all that. And I always, as I mentioned, love it when people bring my books along and want that signed, or they've bought a picture. Ideally, one signed by a driver, because that's turned into a real positive. Now I'm working with a number of drivers, and they're happy to sign these prints, and we do a deal, a collaboration. And in general, they sell out pretty quickly. So we're doing the right thing, and it's at a reasonable price. We're not gouging anybody. So yeah, it's working well. More to come this year.
Oh no, we'll look forward to that for sure. I'm definitely going to be in line for the new prints that you drop. How does that work though? I mean, so you say you work with a lot of drivers, you collaborate with a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers obviously become friends. Is that just from the time being at the track, or did you have relationships prior to, just from visiting races, or how did that come about?
Just if you see the same people week in and week out, at some point you feel comfortable talking to them, and that's what happens in this game. And also, I deal a lot through the managers, and the managers have a lot more time to talk, obviously, and the trainers have more time to talk than the drivers. Because if you get a minute with the driver, that's a long conversation. You would very rarely get that in the paddock. Away from the track, yes. And I've chatted with drivers over dinner and at restaurants when they're relaxed, and they're just like you and me, mate. Until you get 50 people clamoring for an autograph, and suddenly it's like they're the Beatles. But yeah, they're just normal people with very interesting lives and no spare time.
It sounds a lot like yourself, my friend.
I have a bit more spare time than they do.
Well, look, speaking of time, I don't want to take too much more of yours. I know you're a busy man. We've gone on for about, well, almost 45, 50 minutes here. So I just want to say thank you, Kym, from the bottom of my heart. Truly, man, you are like an inspiration, like I said, and I hope and wish you all the best success for everything you have going forward.
I gladly accept your thanks. And just before I go, I'll show you what I'm about to go out to now, because it is a most stunning day here on the west coast of Australia. This is Lancelin. This is a small country town of about 700 people. And look at this today.
Oh, man.
There's not a breath of wind out there. The crayfishing boats are all pointing in different directions. The seas are smooth, and I can't be unhappy about that.
And this
is my setup here with a very nice light and some soundproofing. But of course, no one ever sees that side; they only ever see this side. But your fans have seen it.
That's behind the scenes. So we appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy the day. Please pass on my sincere thanks to Jace. I don't know. Enjoy it. Hopefully there's some chess, right? Chess in your day as well.
I hate playing chess because my son is now superior to me, and it's just frustrating. Well, I can't cheat. He won't let me cheat.
Hey, when he's not looking, right? Just move a piece or two here and there. You know?
Yeah.
You raised an amazing family. You've had some amazing accomplishments, and you continue to be an amazing man. On and off the
Thank
camera.
you, Shepard.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate
man.
your enthusiasm.
What's going on, guys? Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We appreciate you listening for sure. But we need your help.
Yeah, we need your help. We need you to like, comment, and subscribe so that we can continue to make great content for you guys.
Yeah. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe.